Hey guys, before we get started with the video, I just wanted to make sure that there's a couple things that all of you knew about Pocket in order to help you better understand the combos I'm performing during the game. The first thing to know is that Barrage lets you keep your air momentum. This is useful with things like dash jumps and majestic leap. Here's an example. Here's me dash jumping, keeping my air momentum. It's very important that you know how to do this because using Barrage on the ground, grounded like this, is a good way to take a lot of damage in most scenarios. Another combo that's important to know is that you can send your cloak, go into your suitcase, and then activate your cloak, and the suitcase's damage will be done at the location of your cloak. So this is very useful, for example, to do damage in the air to a sniper. That's it. Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be using a slightly different approach to what I was using before. In the laning stage, I'll be playing back at 1x speed, trying to explain the decisions as best as I can. And after the laning stage, we'll up it to 1.5x or 2x and talk a little bit more about the macro game. So as you can see already making use of the dash jump tech in order to get one or two barrages off on the lash. He does a good job at dodging it. Therefore, I'm looking for other plays, just focusing on creeps, pushing the wave. And now, I've talked about this a lot, we have the wave advantage. Our creeps are pushing into them, which means that we can walk up a little bit, try to see if we can get any harass on them. In this situation, they do a good job at dealing with the creeps without peeking too much, which means we can't get much harass. This lane is not a good matchup for Pocket because there's a lot of spirit damage, and for those that don't know, Pocket has minus 15 spirit resistance by default, which means that I'm going to be taking extra damage from all the nukes. Here I'm just using nukes to push the wave as much as possible. Unfortunately, one creep got denied in the process, but I do believe that this is worth it in this specific situation because it allows me to try to get some denies and get some harass on them. I wasn't able to get the denies successfully, but it's more of a skill issue than anything. So here I go into the Veil, trying to just not really get poked at, just trying to get the creeps. I see the Lash is going for my goo, and I try to help him, but unfortunately he dies. Not much I could have done to help him in that situation. My Viscous was pretty hurt, and he probably should have backed up a little bit earlier. Now this is the type of situation where the lane is getting pushed into me. As you can see, I'm using the geometry to try to avoid Great Talon as much as possible, but it's quite difficult. I'm going to be focusing on the knives as much as possible, and I tried to see if there was an opportunity to go in there. One mistake that I'm making here is I went aggressive when we didn't have creeps, and therefore I took a lot of damage from creeps and my health suffered because of it. So in this lane I'm going to be taking a lot of poke. I decided to go Enduring Spirit in order to get a little bit of lifesteal on my spirit damage. In retrospect, I'm not confident that was necessarily the best itemization option, but I wanted to try it on in this lane, but I'm not sold on it. So what you'll notice about my positioning here is that I'm positioned in an area where it's pretty hard for me to get harassed while I go for last hits. So this right here is not optimal, I would say. I'm trying to get a little bit too much done. I'm probably going to die here and take... yeah. So that's an example of what you shouldn't do. So there, my biggest mistake was moving up and trying to get too much done in a lane that's not favorable for me, where I should just be focusing on last hits. I'm still showing this game because I think that it's important to go over the mistakes as much as it is important to go over the successes. So I'm not a perfect player. You guys aren't perfect players. And I just want to show you guys a little bit too, like how to recognize your own mistakes. So there, that really was just a mistake. I'm farming the side camp because at this point they're pretty far ahead of us in lane. They're 600-700 souls ahead at least, so they're like a full item ahead. And they're diving my Viscous. My Viscous is dead. So really not a good start for us in lane. As far as my gameplay, what I could have done better is I could have played more for creeps. I could have taken less damage from creeps early. I didn't need to peek so aggressively, and I could have focused on the knives a little bit more, considering I'm a shotgun character against characters that aren't as good at me as securing souls. So here what I'm doing is I'm just playing really passive, but I'm trying to get the last hits. So here I use my ability to get the last hit on that creep so that I could secure the soul with my shotgun. I only had one bullet, so if I shot it with my shotgun, I wouldn't have been able to secure the soul. In this lane, I'm buying a lot of 500 items because I think that I need them, considering the fact that we're losing pretty bad, and I think I need to be able to be active. So it's a good cube by my cube. It was actually a pretty significant mistake for me to go forward there. Once again, I didn't really have a reason to move up. And so I would say to, generally speaking, avoid moving up. Right now, I know that Lash has ult. I know that we're down basically 1,000 souls on them. And so this lane is, for us, is just going to be like focus on getting last hits and maybe try to focus on getting value in other lanes. For example, here I see McGinnis on my main map. She's very far forward. And I'm going to call to my teammate, hey, I'm coming to gank McGinnis. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. Even though I'm behind, it doesn't mean you can't gank other lanes. I'm not sure if she escapes here. I think she is dead. Yeah. So we did kill the McGinnis, and here I stick around to get the last hits in this wave as well. So when you gank, especially, sorry, only if you're ganking a solo lane, do this. If you're ganking a duo lane, leave right away. If you're ganking a solo lane, always stay for the last hits because both of you get full value from the souls. I feel like I've explained this quite a few times already, but for those who haven't seen my other videos, make sure to do that. So here, I did the combo where you go in... Sorry. You go in with your cloak and then you do the suitcase damage. I think I was only able to kill one of them. I wasn't able to kill the Grey Talon, unfortunately. I tried to get the snipe on him there. Not able to. Unfortunate, but still good for us considering we're behind. And now with that gank and the kill that I just got, I'm actually completely back in the game. I'm not behind at all. And I know that Lash is coming back. I think that he might kill me here. Yeah. So I could have went to my cloak a little bit there. Unfortunately, did die. So I should have backed up earlier. That was pretty greedy of me, especially considering the fact that Lash hadn't died. I think the lesson that you can get from that is if the person hasn't died in lane, they'll for sure have the speed boost up. And if they have the speed boost up, they'll come back very, very quickly. So you need to make sure that you're out of dodge quickly as well. Let's talk a little bit about itemization. So I bought Hollow Point Ward, Close Quarters, Mystic Shot, Extra Stamina, Sprint Boots, Enduring Spirit, sorry, and Mystic Burst. All of these items are in order to give me some extra damage early in the game and a little bit of survivability. Mystic Shot is great for the burst damage and the spirit power. Hollow Point Ward also gives you spirit power as well as a little bit of survivability and additional weapon damage. And Close Quarters just gives you weapon damage and some survivability. Extra stamina, I buy on almost every single hero. I believe that it's never a bad thing to have more stamina. Enduring Spirit gives me a little bit of spirit lifesteal. And Mystic Burst just adds some damage to my cloak and my suitcase. Now that the laning stage is pretty much over, even though it's only 7 minutes into the game, I'm going to speed up the game a little bit so that this video doesn't last too long. So I'm going to go on 1.5x and explain the reason that I'm making decisions. So I'm being active here. I see that there's kill opportunities and I go for them. However, never lose track of the bigger picture. You got to go for the camps. You got to go for the objectives. Here, the lane is pushed. Therefore, I'm thinking, okay, what objective can I defend? What lane can I push? I see that Paradox is pushing our tower. So I go on the Paradox. However, I go on the Paradox not with necessarily the goal of killing her. I mean, I will kill her if she oversteps her boundaries, which she has, and I should be able to get her here. We play Ring Around the Rosie for a little bit. I do end up taking her down. I will die in the process. But the goal there for me was not to kill her, but it was to defend the objective. The only reason I killed her was so I could defend the tower. If she was not at the tower, I would have simply pushed the wave and not necessarily looked for a fight. So do not take pointless fights. Only take fights that are in relation to objectives, will help you get objectives, or will help you defend objectives. So here, I'm going to shove this wave. As you can see, the first thing that I do when I respawn is I always go to a wave, and I always shove it, and then I see, okay, where else can I go? I have Majestic Leap. When you have Majestic Leap as pocket, it's extremely easy to move around the map from wave to wave. So don't be afraid to use Majestic Leap to rotate around the map. It's an extremely powerful tool, especially as pocket, because you can use Barrage to get extra momentum. Sorry, to conserve your momentum. So here the Haze ults me. Luckily, I'm a pocket, so I'm pretty hard to kill. Unfortunately, she's still going to kill me, but I do believe we'll be able to get the trade kill here. Although maybe not. Okay, we do get the trade kill. So right now, I have 4 deaths. Not a great start. I definitely have been in more fights than I would like. But as always, I'm focusing on waves. The only reason I died there, I went to the wave. The person came to get me. We got the trade because it was a little bit deep. Here I see that there's a fight happening and that we have numbers and I have speed boosts. So I show up to the fight real quick. We defend. Once again, the fight's not because my teammates are fighting. It's because we're defending an objective. And here, once again, I see that orange is pushing. I see that my teammate's blue. So I don't think there's really any use for me being blue. Therefore, I'm going to go orange to deal with the wave and push that out. I think one mistake that I see players make is not really looking at what their teammates are doing enough. So there, I went to the wave, I dealt with the wave mostly, and then I left because there was a paradox there and I wasn't confident that I could duel her at the moment. Therefore, I went to my team and I went to go make the play with them. Someone else goes to deal with the wave, and then I use Majestic Leap to go with purple and get some farm as well as push this wave. I would say one mistake that I'm doing in this game a little bit is I'm probably fighting too much. Even though these fights are working for us, the fact that I have 4 deaths already is not really that great in this game. I think I could have been a little bit greedier. So don't hesitate to just use your movement abilities, your skills in order to clear waves. That's what I did right there. I used Barrage, I used Flying Cloak, I used Satchel. I was looking for the Lash, I couldn't find him. Then there's a Grey Talon that shows up, I ult him. I was watching some viewer demos earlier, and one thing that I noticed is Pocket players don't use their ult enough. So you guys really need to be using your ult on Pocket. Don't save it. The ult is okay, but it's definitely not Pocket's best part of his kit. So if it helps you get a kill, like, don't be afraid to just use it. A lot of the time, if I think there's going to be a fight, or if I think, hey, this kill isn't like guaranteed, I'll be using my ult. At this point, we're already 15k up. It's 12 minutes in, so we can start pressuring objectives together. I'm going to be using Majestic Leap once again to travel to a different lane and deal with that. So I would say that the speed at which Pocket can move around the map is superior to almost every other hero. Maybe not every other hero, but with Majestic Leap, with Suitcase, with Barrage, you can cover a lot, so you're particularly good at pushing lanes. So here I'm probably going to push this lane, and then I'm either going to go show up to the fight or go purple. The reason I show up to the fight is because they're diving one of our objectives. So I'm going to shop actually first, which I guess is a little greedy. And I do show up to the fight since they're pushing one of our objectives. They're a little bit deep, and so I show up. I ult right away, as always. And we're going to fight it out. Looks like it's a good fight for us. They're pretty deep. The Haze ult. Haze ult does insane damage now, so it's very scary. So be very careful of that. And now I'm going to go deal with purple. So I don't go back to base, even though I'm not full health. I think, hey, I'm healthy enough. I'm going to lifesteal off of the wave. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Let's talk itemization a little bit. I went knockdown this game, which is an item that you'll very rarely see on Pocket. The reason I went knockdown is because the Haze is doing a build that usually revolves around her ultimate, so she's mostly ulting people. And with the Haze buffs, the ult is actually very scary, like it does a lot of damage, and therefore I thought that it would be useful to get knockdown in order to help us out with that. Spirit Lifesteal is a pretty standard item, and so is Warpstone. Warpstone's just for the mobility, and Spirit Lifesteal obviously is in order to lifesteal with your abilities. So for example, Suitcase, Satchel, etc. So here we just wiped them. As I've said in other videos, if you wipe them, especially if you're close to mid-boss, doing mid-boss is always a good idea. Well, maybe not always, but very often. So we do mid-boss. This allows us to press our objective further. Right after mid-boss, generally you're going to want to deal with the waves. So I'm looking right now and I'm thinking, okay, let's go push blue wave. I'm going to go all the way to the buff. So don't forget about the buff, guys. Whenever they're up, they're super strong. Oh, and I die instantly because I messed up. So don't be like me. Getting the buff was good, but then I got a little bit hasty on what happened. I overestimated how tanky I was, and I died instantly. And it looks like this is actually a really, really bad fight for my team. However, I do respawn. I'm asking my team if we should fight this, and I do think that we can fight it. And this is simply because we have fast respawns on them, and they already used some things on me. And so I'm fighting in a very non-committal way right now. So I would say one of Pocket's strengths is being able to go on a fight and not fully commit to it, and be able to like weave in and out of the fight. So that's kind of as I'm doing right now. So I use Majestic Leap, I use Knockdown, I'm using my Suitcase to get in and out, life stealing a little bit. The reason we're on the side of the map is because the only objectives that are left are the 2 walkers here, or base guardians, and we're not confident that we can necessarily go up to base guardians right now. We don't think we're far enough ahead to just go straight up to base guardians. And so our goal is to get all the walkers in order to get a flex slot. Now we see the Grey Talon, he overextended. I went on him with Knockdown. Knockdown can be a good item against Grey Talon as well, because right now there's really no other ways to take him out of the sky. Knockdown or Curse are the only 2 ways that you can take him out of the sky reliably with items. And so I would recommend, if you're struggling with Grey Talon or Vindicta, to pick up Knockdown as well, as that'll surely help you. Here I end up going, I think I'm going to go blue and try to see if there's something to be done. When there's nothing to be done, the golden statues are always a great thing to do. Golden statues and boxes are a great source of farm when there's no farm on the map. What I mean by no farm on the map is I feel like the waves are too dangerous to be pushed, and our jungle camp near me is farmed. If that's the case, shooting boxes, hitting the golden statues is always a good thing to do. They've got buff, they've got souls, and the souls and the buffs scale with game time. So past 20 minutes, I believe, or it might be past 15 minutes, the buffs give something a little bit more. And as far as the boxes, the amount of souls scale based on the amount of minutes in the game.
I'll be safe in this case.
So I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm not going to let this game end on the replay. I'm not going to watch the entire thing because I don't necessarily think that there is more to learn. So I would say if I were to stop it there, the things that I would focus on as Pocket is you're extremely mobile with Majestic Leap, so you can go ahead and you can push multiple waves. Second of all is don't be afraid to play the fights in a non-committal way. What I mean by that is use your cloak to get around the fight, use Majestic Leap to re-engage, for example, just like I did there. Re-engaged with my 1. Make sure that you're using your barrage from the skies, and make sure that you try to always engage on people that are barraged as well. Pocket's damage output is actually kind of underwhelming if he doesn't have barrage stacks on a hero, so you really want to make sure not to fight people who don't have any barrage stacks on them. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask in the comments as always. I'm going to come out with some more guide videos. So I'm actually currently working on a couple guides, but in the meantime, as they're getting ready, I figured I'd give you guys some gameplay, some footage, so yeah, you guys can learn from while I'm currently working on the full guides. And the other danger with guides right now is that since the game is changing so frequently and so often, the item build and the skill build is the thing that I'm least confident is going to stay the same, right? So there might be a lot of changes. Anyway, I'm not going to make the video much longer. Thank you guys for all the support. As always, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you next time.